trying to settle old scores as America and England come head-to-head in the war zone for our War of Independence special. 4 machines from England and 4 from America will battle against each other to select their representatives for the final. So let's head to the Battleboard and see who's fighting who. England versus America, a tale as old as time. The front hinge flipping arm of Firestorm 2 taking on Mortars with their lifting arm and Tanto axe blade. The front plow and ramming power of Punja taking on the wedge and machete blade of Overkill. Bigger Brother with their CO2 flipper taking on the spiked axe of Dominator 2. And General Trumpslot with their controlling gnawing teeth against the bot tenderizer hammer blade of the Frenzy. Let the War of Independence begin! Firestorm 2 Flipper! A much stronger flipping arm than the previous version and a lot more effective too. The speed and drive is still the same, meaning it's just as nippy, but ground clearance is still an issue for the team, and this current build has been suffering from wheeling at the start, which causes ground clearance issues at the front, which is meant to have a 0-degree ground clearance. Mortis Flipper Axe Bot. Without a doubt has been Mortis' best series ever, reaching the series semi-finals and coming runner-up in the All-Stars. The armor being coated in silicon carbide has proven to be a real benefit for the most part, and the axe is still as fast and dangerous as ever. The lifting arm is also still a key instrument in its run across the arena floor, but the tracks have caused problems for the team in the past, and the ground clearance is quite high.
Roboteers, stand by.
Firestorm 2, the front-hinged flipping arm, and Mortis with the lifting arm and Tanto axe blade. And this is a bit of a grudge match here, because they fought before in Series 1 when Firestorm 2 was known as Snowstorm.
2,
They also fought together against Dietor, but it was Mortis who ended up crashing out first. Now, can Mortis get their revenge? Well, they're swinging their axe blade down and are getting underneath Firestorm. We've said before that their wheeling has been causing them problems, but getting underneath Mortis and rolling them. Roly-poly, doing a barrel roll across the floor. That's quite impressive, actually. And it just shows how much power is in that lifting arm. And it's thrown Mortis up and over, but it's thrown them onto their side, and they have no way of coming back from that. And now, throwing them up and over. And now, Mortis seems to be in trouble. Then again, so is Firestorm 2 stuck on top as Mortis tries to right themselves. And I don't think Mortis really can. But I think the great run's about to end here. It does so. Down the pit and out. They self-right into the pit of oblivion. And there's no coming out of it. Firestorm 2 goes through, and Mortis, you can fire your axe all you want. It's not getting you out of that pit. You are out. You're going home. Unfortunately, it's Firestorm 2 who goes through. A well-timed push and play there for Firestorm 2 as it sends Mortis down the pit and out. Next up, Punjar and Overkill. Punjar. Rambot. A very strong pushing machine with a very effective scoop wedge. We've seen what it can do before and even saw it hammer the alien out of the arena in the New Blood Championships last Wars. It's very quick too, which it needs to be if it has any chance of being at all effective. Just wondering if they've managed to fully repair the damage they took from Peace and Riot in the main competition. Overkill. Thwackbot. Well, they saw more action this time around with their exposed wheel being torn completely off by Hivemind's spinning bar. The invertibility has proven to be quite beneficial, and the weapon, well, maybe not as effective as it probably could be, but maybe they'll do well here. Although, having said that, they don't have great pushing power, something we noticed in their fight with Hammerhead 2.
Roboteers, stand by.
Punjar, the white box bot with their front wedge plow, and Overkill, the thwack bot with their little wedge, and their overhead swinging Rambo knife blade.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Come to think of it, I don't think these two machines ever fought before on BattleBots. So I guess this is their first time actually encountering each other. Punjar, a little bit stuck on a wedge of Overkill. Overkill, not with great pushing power, unlike Punjar, and nearly out the arena. Had there been more power to that, but look at this, they go upwards, and all Punjar's left with is that Rambo blade. And Overkill, very lucky there wasn't the entire body, but now Overkill underneath Punjar. Punjar getting away. Punjar pushing away at Overkill, watching them roly-poly, and now helping them right themselves up and over, and nearly threw themselves down the pit there. That could have ended badly for Punjar. But Punjar once again getting stuck on that wedge of Overkill, and that seems to be causing problems for Punjar. Not a lot of pushing power compared to Punjar, but if Overkill can get their wedge underneath Punjar there, then all of a sudden, whatever pushing power Punjar has, it loses. And Punjar ends up being able to be pushed by Overkill. Overkill seems to notice that fact and is trying to exploit that. Not using their blade, which is interesting. Punjar driving into the wall. And once again, Punjar pushing them over. This is suddenly turning into a very good fight. A very close-knit battle. It'll be great to see if this goes to the judges. Overkill once again overturned. It's almost like a fighting Stinger, almost. But Overkill pushing away and nearly sending Punjar down the pit. And Punjar needs to be careful because their own speed can do them in. But Punjar trying very desperately to deal with Overkill. I'm not sure they know how to though, because they can't deal with a frontal assault. They'll have to deal with it from either the side or the back. Presumably the back. It's easier. Less wedge to deal with. But Overkill is also a very fast machine, and they're playing very, very, very close to that pit. And that was nearly the end for both of them, really. But right now, Overkill giving Punjar serious grief, and Overkill almost had Punjar down and out. Punjar playing very close with death there, righting them again, but Punjar in real trouble now, probably trying to lure them into the pit, and that's gonna work! The blade's in, and now the rest of the machine is! Down goes Overkill after a great performance in this battle. Look at this! This is where it ended. The blade caught the pit. They just get away, but the blade stays in the pit. Punjar took advantage and shoved them down it. That's the end of Overkill. They can try, get out of the pit, but it's not gonna work. They are out. They're eliminated. It's Punjar going through to the second round. And after a very, very good struggle for Punjar. Hopefully to see Overkill in the next wars do better. And I genuinely mean that because, truth be told, I actually really do like Overkill. It's a pretty cool design, but for now, they're out. Punjar's through. Next up, Bigger Brother and Dominator 2. Bigger Brother. Flipper. Team Captain Joe Watts describes Bigger Brother as a nightmare in metal. The armor is very tough and the CO2 powered flipper is very effective, even if it is just for ramming power. The speed of the machine is quite impressive too. Shame it didn't go further this series. But the armor isn't indestructible and there's a limited gas supply for the weapon. Other than that though, yeah, it's basically invincible. Dominator 2. Axebot. The tough titanium armor with a plasma nitride coating has proven to be fairly tough against spinning attacks, and the axe has shown off not to be just a useful weapon, but also useful at helping the machine self-right. However, they didn't have a great run of things in the series, and the weapon does have one or two drawbacks.
Roboteers, stand by.
Bigger Brother with the CO2-powered flipper and the very tough armor. And Dominator 2 with their spiked axe and plasma nitride-coated armor. And this is actually a bit of a rematch, actually, from the original Robot Wars, the Season 6 semi-finals.
2, 1, Activate.
Dominator 2 came out on top of that fight. However, they don't seem to be coming out on top right now, do they? They're being flipped over by Bigger Brother, but their axe is helping them so right. And down comes the axe on Bigger Brother. And truth be told, that's the only real problem Bigger Brother has. They're not so great with axes. Axes are a bit of a problem for Bigger Brother, but they seem more dominant here as they flip Dominator 2 up and over again. And the spike flips them over, and then that's not a great combination, is it? Being ganged up on by the spike and Bigger Brother, who are flipping them up and over constantly. And there is a limited gas supply for Bigger Brother, so they can't constantly do this. But right now, it seems to be going the same way it did in the Silver Rumble of this series. But Dominator 2 aren't letting up. Ow! Had they kept that charge up, they could have seen the end for Bigger Brother, seen them down the pit. But right now, Dominator 2 stuck on the backside, rights themselves. And once again, we're stuck in a bit of a dance. In comes Bigger Brother to try and flip them. Misses both those flips. Now flips them over near the flames. And is everything okay for Dominator 2? I am not too sure. They seem very stationary. And they're flipped again. They right themselves. But I think there's a problem with Dominator 2. They are not moving. I think they're immobilized. Oh, wait a minute. Is there movement? Yes, there is. But only on one side. Has one of the drive motors burned out, I wonder? I think that's the case. But they're still trying to stay in the fight. They're flipped over, right themselves. And Bigger Brother, right now, on top. This is their fight to lose. Dominator 2, right now, in more trouble than they've been this entire fight. Flipped again and again, but each time able to right themselves. But they're very close to the pit, and one final nudge sees them down it.
Cease.
And it's all over for Dominator 2, and it's Bigger Brother going on through to the second round to face off against Firestorm 2. Well, it was one apiece, and after this battle, Bigger Brother takes the lead with 2 victories to 1. Well done, Bigger Brother, for changing the score. They go through Dominator 2, they crash out. Next up, General Chomsalot and Frenzy. General Chomsalot, Control Bot. A similar design to 2 previous machines they've competed with in the past, those machines being Jawbreaker and Jawbreaker's Revenge from Robotica, and Nasty Overbite from BattleBots. This machine basically works the same way, gnawing jaws to clamp its foes and drag them around, can run both ways up, and has big exposed wheels. Frenzy! Axebot! We saw them back in Series 1, and they didn't really go far. Crashed into the Silver Rumble, where they were then thrown out of the arena by Volcano Alert. They also didn't have a great run in Battle of the YouTubers, crashed out in the first round. The Tenderizing Hammer is a deadly weapon and has major power to help the machine self-right, but it can get stuck on its side fairly easily, and there is a ground clearance issue.
Robot ears, stand by.
General Chomsalot, with the clamping, gnawing teeth, and Frenzy, with the Robot Axe Tenderizer.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
It's their description for the weapon, not mine, and it's already resulted in them going up and over. And here comes General Chomsalot to try and clamp down on that axe if they can. No, they just end up helping them right themselves. Can General Chomsalot... Is there much General Chomsalot can do, I wonder? It's not in most interest... There's not an easy design for them to grab, but they can grab that axe. They can grab the axe of Frenzy and drop them into the pit. And that's gonna be the end of Frenzy. They're in the pit. They can't come back. Oh, the spikes on the mat. Oh, and Frenzy's right into themselves. They're out of the pit now. Look at this! Just as General Chomsolo goes over the spike and goes up and over, Frenzy rights themselves out of the pit, but they also throw themselves over. They're stuck up and over again. And General Chomsolot remains up and over. And Frenzy moving away. And is there a problem here with General Chomsolot? Because they're not moving. There's no life in them. I think General Chomsolot's immobilized. What's happened to them? Are they burnt out? Did they not charge the batteries? General Chomsolot are out! Well! What a stunning turn of events! They seemed on top right from the get-go. Frenzy goes up and over again. General Chomsolot are out. It's Frenzy who goes through. How about that? Talk about a turnaround. General Chomsolot, who had been on top for most of that fight, suddenly conk out and crash against the wall, and it's Frenzy going through. Well, that's a surprise. But anyway, this is how round 2 looks. Frenzy will be taking on Punjar in another Battlebots showdown. Well, we also get a Robot Wars showdown and a rematch between Firestorm 2 and Bigger Brother.
Roboteers, stand by.
Firestorm 2 with a front hinge flipping arm, and Bigger Brother with their CO2 powered flipper. And this is actually another rematch for Bigger Brother in this competition.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
They both fought before in the All-Stars Championship in Extreme 2 of Robot Wars. And right now, Bigger Brother seems to be on top almost, but they're scored on the spikes after that one flip on Firestorm. Firestorm couldn't take advantage, not because of the spikes. And now flipped over by Bigger Brother. And Bigger Brother rights them and flips them again. And Bigger Brother righting them again. And I think Bigger Brother should probably... Well, it's Firestorm, they can right themselves, but Firestorm's wheeling has been causing them problems before, and once again, up and over, righted again, and running away, and flipped them. Well, that's a bit of poor driving there, I think. Look at this, they get a flick on Firestorm, nearly had them down the pit, and then, whoops. I don't know why they suddenly drove into the pit, but they did. They're in the pits. Firestorm 2 goes through. I think Bigger Brother's like, wait, can we do it again? I screwed up. Sorry, boys, but you drove into the pit, and it's Firestorm 2 through to the finals. And I bet they're going to be kicking themselves in the pits after that silly stunt. Bigger Brother, Firestorm 2 through, Punjar and Frenzy, they're next up.
Roboteers, stand by.
Punjar, the four-wheel drive box bot with their front wedge plow, and Frenzy with their big bot tenderizer hammer. And I have no idea if these two fought before in Battlebots either.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Well, let's just say this is their first time as well. And once again, Frenzy going up and over. And Punjar, well, I think this might be clearing cut, but Frenzy can right themselves. But Punjar, I don't think, is giving them much of a chance. Slamming them against the side wall. And probably going to leave them there, but there goes the hammer of Frenzy and throws themselves down. Is there anything Frenzy can do? Can Frenzy come back? The problem with that weapon is it takes a while for it to fire, which is weird. Over the flames, that's probably not good for Frenzy. But righted. And now, well, they're just dancing around each other, I think. And now Frenzy fires her hammer, but they've thrown themselves onto their side. And that's going to be it, I think. And then they go, oh! Okay. Right. So that happened. Yeah, Punjab pushed, went into the pits, and Frenzy got them out. Brilliant. Frenzy, you gonna get yourself out? Are you? Well, I'm not too sure. Well, you did before. So, let's play you can. Yes, you can. And does so perfectly. Now, can Punjar put them back in and keep them there? That's the million-dollar question. Or just drive into the wall and get trapped there. And the problem with that hammer, the problem with the tenderizer hammer on Frenzy, it's not 100% reliable. It's not the greatest of accuracies. But, hey, at least Frenzy's coming back. And it is kind of entertaining to see them take on Punjar and just go up the front of them. And that nearly went down the pit there. And fire their hammer again on the side, on the floor flipper, which flings them away. One of the few times the floor flipper actually works when intended. And Punjar... Now, why didn't Punjar follow up that attack, I wonder? The judges will be looking on at that. Well, you didn't follow up. There's the spike, and Punjar nearly threw themselves down the pit there. Punjar drove! Very close to going down that pit, Punjar. Frenzy stuck on the wall next to their hammer. And can Punjar truly finish off Frenzy? They're gonna try or reverse and go into the pit. Well, I feel like the amount of times you skirted with death that was about to happen. Look at this. Span away and almost fell down the pit. That was nearly the end for Punjar. But I think it was a precursor, foreshadowing for what was about to happen. Reversed over, trying to jump the pit, but too big of a gap. And it's Frenzy, shockingly, making the grand final. And you know, looking at it, I think this has been Frenzy's most successful appearance on Robot Wars ever. Well done to Frenzy, and that's to be said for reaching the grand final of the War of Independence, where they now have to face off against Firestorm 2, and if they can pull off another upset here, that would be brilliant for their career.
Roboteers, stand by.
The War of Independence final. Firestorm 2 with a front-hinged flipping arm for England, and for America, Frenzy with the big bot tenderizing hammer. 3, 2, 1, activate. Who will win the War of Independence? Firestorm 2, roly-poly goes Frenzy. And suddenly I'm starting to notice something about that hammer. It's causing it issues to turn when it's against the wall. So that's something that I'll have to try and deal with. Meanwhile, they're giving problems for Firestorm 2, who fires that weapon, but not at the right time. Now they fire it, and it just flings them away. And Frenzy, well, now their hammer in with all the electronical components for Firestorm 2 are, and that could have ended very, very badly for Firestorm 2 if Frenzy had capitalized. Instead, they fire their hammer at the wrong time, but they don't end up and over. They do now on the spikes. The spikes don't raise. And now Firestorm 2 to try and flip, but they're against the wall. And I don't think they're going to be able to do anything else. They can't flip them onto the wall. They can't flip them out the arena. So what's left for Firestorm 2 to do? Apart from just drive underneath the weapon. Well, Frenzy rights themselves and fires the weapon again, and Firestorm 2 underneath, and nothing happens. Firestorm 2 now on top of Frenzy, which isn't often. Frenzy giving chase to Firestorm 2 and are giving them quite a fair few bit of problems. But can Firestorm 2, Frenzy firing their weapon, but Firestorm 2, well, this looks to be good for Firestorm 2. Can they get rid of Frenzy? Yes, they can, and have thrown them in sideways. And that will affect their weapon. Look at this. They pushed them into the pit, but they've thrown them in sideways, and their weapon will not work as well from that. They can keep firing as much as they want, but I don't think they're going to come out the pit this time, especially not now. I think their axe is stuck. And that's where their run here ends. No trophy for Frenzy, but they did a great job in this competition. The best run in any competition ever. But it's Firestorm 2, winners of the War of Independence. A great final showdown as Frenzy crashes out of the competition and Firestorm 2 comes out on top. Well done to them after a great showdown, and the machines actually won something. That's the second trophy that they're taking home. Looking forward to seeing what they bring in the next series. But until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.